Hey everybody, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be just going through, actually I'm just looking at the compressed time. I think this was all about 2 hours, maybe 2.5 hours, just broken down very fast. So yeah, we'll just go through the process here of all this good stuff. This actually, before I get into that, this is for Patreon. I don't want to give the guy's name. If you want me to drop your name, that's fine. Some people get a little iffy with the name stuff on the internet. But this cat here, a lot of his OCs that I'm drawing, and I've drawn a few for him, and I've been very grateful for that for many years now. But he's got like a really cool taste of characters. There's something about it. To be fair, whoever did the art on the reference there on the right, that big powerful pose, there's a lot of detail in there. And I skipped I would say a good chunk of that. I tried to incorporate it into the design as well. But that actually reminded me a lot of. I remember reading back before there was like a post or something on Twitter where somebody was saying like, back in the day with Jack Kirby and all these other cats and stuff, when they would draw comics, they could knock out like, at least a page a day, and nowadays it's much difficult. And then somebody posted a reason why, and they showed a picture of Captain America's boots, if you guys remember. Back then, Captain America's boots used to look like pirate boots, right? Or it's literally just folded cloth. And then nowadays it's like a tactical army boot with full precision shoelaces and grit and all this fun stuff. Anyway, it reminded me much of this, where it's like the design on the right, that's great for like a video game, movie, 3D modeling and stuff. Having to draw something like that every time you would see this character, I mean, if you got a lot of time, I mean, it might look really cool, but practically speaking, it can be a little daunting. So anyway, I don't want to say that's a front-loaded reason why I pulled back on the design on a lot of this stuff, but I did want to simplify it. Again, these are Patreon commissions. This isn't like a full-blown, can you draw my cover for my comic or interior page stuff? But I still want to give people, treat them with the respect and give them something cool to look at, especially if it's their own character, right? But anyway, so that's the front-loaded part. The process here is literally go back to all the videos I've ever done. It's very simple, and I'll continue to bring it up. This method was talked about in the DC Comics Guide to Digitally Drawing Comics by Freddie Williams. Still holds up to this day. All you're doing is in the beginning there, you saw me just get like this. You could use really any brush, and right now for this one it's called I call it a lifeless brush, where it's just like there's very little pressure sensitivity like at all, and the idea is it's almost like drawing with a Sharpie. You start with a big fat version of that, and then you whittle it down to something a little bit more refined. I find it freeing. When I first started drawing that way, it was very like, ugh, I kind of want to noodle a bit. Even today, if I use a pencil brush, you can kind of massage lines and stuff, whereas with that you can't. But it forces you to sort of think in different shapes and stuff. So anyway, you do that, and you lower it down, and then it's almost like right now we got like a micron, as if you're going around drawing like a nice tight line art. And then we're gonna slap some ink, so we're gonna go right to colors. It's gonna be a lot of fun. And I will say too, I'm working on other projects behind the scenes as opposed to this one. Like I tried to sneak in a little bit of time, and the videos cobbled together. This wasn't all drawn in a single sitting, just for some context there. And one thing that I was wrestling with over the couple of days that I was able to spend time with this one was that, like, I'm working on a what's it called, like a Marvel pitch, or like just a portfolio update sort of thing for Marvel. I should be sending out hopefully next week. It's like Rhino versus Hulk, really fun. I'll show you guys some of that stuff too. But anyway, I'm working on that. And if you see here, like, again, if you're familiar with my art style, I've talked about style like to death, and I'm actually going to continue to talk about it today. I just find that there's like so many different styles that I enjoy to draw in. It's almost like trying to pick one to send to somebody, being like, this is what I think you guys might like. And it's I have confidence in it. It's not necessarily that, but it's one of those ones where I know I could push things and all that. So it's like there's a lot of decisions happening, and I've already committed to a style for that. But for this one, it's following in lines with that comic that I'm working on. And you'll see, right, like, the main thing that I normally always do is once you get from here, it almost looks like a coloring page. And then you just sort of go in, and all you're really worrying about is line weights, like making things pop over other things. By the way, I just want to point out, if you guys haven't updated to the new Clip Studio, I haven't updated in forever. And the only reason I did it is because recently I started messing around on the iPad Pro with Procreate, and they got this really slick feature. And I mean, maybe it's just because I'm an old man, and I don't know tech. I'm just stuck in using what I use because it's so fun to do. But it's like, you could draw a line and hold it, and then it kind of autocorrects. I'm like, oh, that's so neat. And I saw a video where you can do that in Clip Studio, and I was like, no way, you know. And I looked, and it was like, oh, but you got to update it to like the new version. So I was like, okay, well, we'll take a look at it. Anyway, it just having the ability to do something like that digitally, it's been great. I just wanted to point that out. That if you like that kind of thing, maybe check it out in the Clip Studio. I think it's Clip Studio 5. Is the last one that just came out? But anyway, so you're going through, and like I said, I'm just slapping on some like line weights, but right there. Right here, I was watching some old videos, and I don't mean this in a conceited way. I really don't hope that makes that sound weird that I watch my old videos, but it's nice to go back. It's almost like a journal in a way, right? I go back and I can kind of hear, not who I was, but like some of the thought process of why I was doing stuff. I can see the brushes I was using and going like, oh, okay. So I kind of had like a looser scribbly line and all this sort of thing. And the main reason why I'm doing this right now is I'm trying to think, okay, like if I'm sending a portfolio to people, my job that I would be applying for, right, is like a penciler inker, not a colorist, right? I wouldn't be doing coloring. And I had to kind of take a step back and just remember, and not that you need to do this, like the inks and the shadows and rendering and all that stuff. You don't need to do that. That's 100% sure. You can grab any comic book that's out there, and you'll see different styles. So find your voice, right? But I was looking through it, and I remember there was a point, and I was talking with my friend Will Robson many years ago. If you guys still remember JESOP King, this little comic I was working on then, and I decided way back then to just go, you know what? I'm done with adding rendering and shadows. It adds so much time that I know when I personally go in to add color, I'm going to be doing that stuff in color anyway. And to be fair, when I would do rendering and shadows, sometimes, and you don't even know the colorist you get, sometimes the way that they just color, maybe it clashes with your style, or maybe they think it looks better, or who knows, right? It's art, it's subjective. But a lot of that coloring just sort of like drowns out the simplicity and the clarity of black and white. Like right here, you can see rendering. Like this is clear as day, but even when I go and I slap some colors on this after, as you'll see as we go, even then I notice that I'm like, okay, well, some parts kind of get drowned out a little bit, like that rendering, but I'm trying to, in my mind, switch it up, going like, okay, I should probably be doing, like, this is like, I do enjoy this artwork. It just takes a little more time. That's why I pulled back, right? Like, you have to think about things a little bit differently. And I even noticed, like, even when I was doing the rendering there, and I apologize, this is zipping around. It's going to be a little hard to see. But even doing the rendering, I'm a little rusty on it, right? So I had to go back. I was watching some Jim Lee videos, some David Finch videos. Again, some of mine, and some other artists that I really like. Will Robson as well. I was checking out his stuff. Hey, Will, if you're watching. And there's a magic and a beauty that's always like, okay, you get like a nice fat brush and you slap in some shadow shapes, then you pull out of the shadow shapes the rendering, right? And that's when it starts getting kind of fun, and then it sort of just ramps up the artwork a little bit, right? And I was like, oh, like I dig it, like I like it, I like the way it looks, and I can't wait to keep experimenting with it more. Lord willing, I get the time and ability to be able to actually just spend some time working this out, because right now there's, like I said, there's some roughness, right? And I think it's still fine here because this is like a private commission. This isn't something necessarily for a portfolio piece. Arguably anything you post online could be considered a portfolio piece either way. But yeah, so just explaining that. So when you guys see some videos coming out for additional things, hopefully I've still maintained the idea of sticking with this, and we'll see how it goes. And like I said, I know it adds a little bit of time, but it's not the end of the world, right? It's one thing when it's pages of rendering, and you got to kind of figure like how far do you want to push things. And in learning rendering, it changes your style. I had to try to decide, and I'll talk about this art stuff here in a second here. And I apologize, I just realized when I was recording this, you see this black box on the right? I have no idea why, but my streaming software, sometimes it'll throw up like a scene that I created whenever I would do like the webcam stuff, and it was just there. So it'll come and go. Like I said, this was multiple videos put together. But what I was saying with the rendering is like I could spot my black shapes in there, and then when it came to rendering, it was like, well, how do I want to do it? Do I want to do like I would argue this is sort of like a classic, or I just say David Finch style rendering. I think it's probably just the most commonly known one. And I'm looking back at like Jim Lee, who does a lot of cross hatching, and it's not here, but it was in other files that I was opening, just testing this stuff out on the side. And I'm like, I can't decide, And to me, just my history with rendering and stuff, this is sort of like my safe place. So I just did that to keep it going. Anyway, so to talk about the coloring. So one of the, I forget his name, it's Coloring with Kurt, I believe it is. And I don't think he still makes videos. I think he just released a whole bunch of stuff of his old shop stuff or whatever, like his things that you can buy, like full courses or something on his website. So I mean, if you're into that stuff, go check that out. Coloring with Kurt, I believe it is. And I followed a lot of his coloring over the years, and I know the screen's frozen here, like I said, videos being cobbled together. But one of the workflows that he did, and I started doing it pretty much anytime I do any coloring work like this, because it helps tremendously, is, you know, if you guys don't know about flats, I'll briefly bring that up. But the first thing you do is it's more like a selection. So if you need to rewind, I know this is probably not appropriate talking about it as it's already happened, but the first thing that I would do is I set up my layer, or my a layer, yeah, and I put it with like 50% gray, and then I make another layer above it. I make a selection, in this case, around this character, which I didn't even bring up his name. His name's Sirpreme, which is kind of a fun little name. But anyway, so I make Sirpreme a selection. So now I've got his body. Then I make the eye lasers a selection, and then the rocks a selection that are in the foreground, and that's pretty much it. Like, this is super simple. And then once I have that way, at any time I can just click that layer and go, I just need his body, or I just need the lasers. It just gives you flexibility. But all of this stuff builds on stuff. Like, maybe I should make a slower video. Please leave in the comments if you guys want any of these videos talked about at a slower pace, where I could talk appropriately through like the flow of it. I'd love to do that for you. That's not a problem. So the second thing you duplicate those flats, or those selections, then you would make your flat. So it's like, okay, well, now I need to break down like where all the sections of yellow, purple, they don't have to be the right colors. I don't care about that just yet. I just need to be able to go, okay, I need to click all his skin, all the purple areas, that thing. And then I make another layer above that of like, it's basically the color correction. And then you just start your rendering over top of that. Now, this is something, oh man, I've been using this way back, ever since really I opened Clip Studio and really got into some coloring in it when I moved away from Photoshop for this kind of stuff. And all I do is, if you're not familiar with gradient maps, so I make a background that's just gray. You're basically working grayscale from black to white. In a gradient map, it just replaces the value, or not the value, the color of gray. So you could put something like, for example, let's just say you wanted to go from yellow as the brightest color to red as the darkest color. What it'll do is it'll replace all the shades that are between white and black to yellow and red. I know it sounds super complicated. It's really not once you kind of do it once or twice. But anyway, I just put it in there as a placeholder because I didn't know where to go. I think I ended up using this grayish desaturated color too. I wanted him to pop. I was looking for like a complementary color for purple, which is usually just right across as yellow, but he's already got that in his design of his costume. So I was like, well, that only really leaves me if I want to go split complementary colors here, like with an orange or like a tealish green. But teal and green doesn't feel like hot and impactful. And this kind of stuff, I always feel like it's action, you know? So, I don't know. I think I just desaturated, let the green. I was just like, forget it. I'm just going to let the character do all the, the talk and just put the focus on him. And then also, I should say, so if you notice, I color code my layers over there. Yellow would be highlight layers, and blue is shadow layers. And normally when I do, like, let's say, I'll call it like an actual commission, but like a cover for somebody, or if somebody's asked me to do a comic book for, this kind of stuff, I will usually double up those layers. So like right now I'm doing just the cell shading that I've always done and I love for shadows. I'll add another one on top of that to deepen the shadows as well. And I have a few videos, nothing off the top of my head that I could think of that you could watch. Just go back, and if you're interested, you can see that kind of stuff. And this right here, this is cell shading highlights. Always a weird step because it looks immediately gross. But hopefully it doesn't look so gross at the end, where what you're going to do is pull the layer opacity down, grab an airbrush, like a soft airbrush eraser, and sort of like dial it back. It's almost like a reverse way of doing cell shading highlights, where you do like a marquee selection and then use an airbrush to push in the highlights. And again, the color looks whack, but what we're going to do is, because I have those selections, I can click on, and you'll see me right now, I'm fiddling with the background trying to, what looks cool, like some of those look cool, like that red was cool, but eventually I just land on like this gray. I'm like, it's fine, it sells what I need to do. It's still kind of got some dramatic to it, some dramatic flair to it. But anyway, like I said, so right there you can see I'm messing with the yellow there. I didn't like the blue. I put like a blue for shading for everything, because I think it's a nice contrast to the yellow highlight, so it'll always work. But then you got to go in and just sort of pull and push, do I want the yellows to be more orange in the shadows, and for his face, right? Like I can't have it looked weird with the highlighting color that I had on his face, so I had to go in there and just sort of like, okay, well, let's select the skin tone and adjust it and do some fun stuff. And right here we're doing all the color grading and special effects stuff. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you so much for your time. I know this was a little bit of a longer video, but I hope you got something out of it. And again, leave something in the comment if you guys want something talked about directly. I'd love to do that. So we'll talk to you guys next time. Take care, and we'll see you then. Bye-bye.